Summer is coming up. Can you believe it? I can't. Summer is the season when we're all expected to go outside, chase the sun. And our modern idea of summer came from a different time, when everything was sun-drenched, colorful, and kitschy. The 1960s created what we recognize today as the summer fantasy. Even if you don't know much about 60s culture, you just know about the beach aesthetic. It's still being referenced. The 50s sold the dream of suburban pool parties, but the 60s brought that fantasy wide open. Southern California was the land of beach parties, surfing, convertibles. The style is remembered as a version of youth culture that was so glossy and stylized, it almost stopped feeling real. The beach wasn't just somewhere you went anymore. It became the place to be. But why were people so obsessed with the beach? Where did the aesthetic that created Teen Beach Movie come from? How did it wash away, but also create a lasting impact on how we see La Plage as a spot of coolness? We're going to look into why the 60s were so obsessed with the beach and its lasting impact. So now, let's get started. To get the full picture of this trend, we need to get context. As the upper middle class grew in the late 19th century, coastal cities saw the rise of seaside resorts. In 1896, Revere Beach in Massachusetts helped popularize the beach as a place for swimming, entertainment, and day trips. Though men and women in the same water was considered taboo, seaside vacations soon became a status symbol, and by 1913, sunbathing was a recognized favorite pastime for the upper class. As new railway construction and subway stations were built in the 1920s, the beach was revitalized as just not a space for rich people, but for anyone. Kind of. Relaxing in the sun and swimming became more enjoyable as swimsuits became smaller and less restrictive. Though there was still a fashion police where beach inspectors measured swimwear lengths. But whatever, they're not the ones having a good time. It was also becoming more common for men and women to go in the water together, and the beach developed an unspoken reputation as a place where you might find romance. Coney Island became the fantasized beach destination in American culture, representing excitement, nearby amusement rides, and crowded boardwalks. Laying out in the sun, getting tan was becoming popularized in the 1920s, specifically influenced by Coco Chanel. With the massive rise of Hollywood, the new fantasized beach destination became Southern California, a land of luxury, palm trees, and cars. Between 1940 and 1950, California's population grew by 47%, more than half of which settled in Southern California. Imagery of sunshiny California leisure was propelled by the photography of Slim Aarons. Wealthy people lounging by the pool, sunbathing, and looking relaxed in ways that seemed almost fictional. Oh, to have nice lazy summers. And this fantasy wasn't solely a Californian thing. Millions of servicemen stationed in the Pacific returned home nostalgic for island life. The booming post-war economy gave more Americans the money and free time to travel for vacations. Branded as a tropical paradise, Hawaii was the perfect summer destination. Everywhere you looked, blooming flowers, white sands, and aqua waters. This would launch a tiki craze in America, where people became obsessed with anything remotely Hawaiian or Polynesian-inspired. Hawaiian-themed movies, Hawaiian shirts, tiki bars, bamboo furniture. Wherever you were, you could imagine you lived near a coastline. And one ancient Polynesian practice, once deeply tied to Hawaiian culture, began spreading to the American mainland. The art of surfing. Coinciding with the rise of car culture, surf culture became widely adapted to the high waves of Malibu. Californian surf culture was launched to nationwide notoriety with the 1959 film Gidget. This movie follows a girl who isn't like the other girls. Yes, that trope is way older than you think. While the other girls only cared about sunbathing and boys, Gidget, really Francine, cared about the waves, but she still managed to find love along the way. Around the same time, surf rock emerged as one of the defining sounds of youth culture. It wasn't typical rock music. The genre had a distinctive watery sound, loud and fast-paced, with guitars mimicking the sounds of waves crashing. It just sounded like the beach. With this rising wave in pop culture, the beach was no longer just the beach, but a cultural hub for the youth, and movie studios knew they had to cash in while they could. American International Pictures wasn't a big-name production company, so they had to keep a simple strategy. Follow the trends, give audiences something they can't get from a regular studio picture. And they knew exactly who they had to sell to: teenagers, who in the 60s were gaining more cultural dominance. Producer Samuel Z. Arkoff explained, I realized that movie-going was becoming a habit of young people. Young people go out on dates, so they always go to the movies. And so we began making movies for them. This was one of the first production companies to conduct focus groups, directly asking their audience what they wanted to see. The beach movie trend officially launched in 1963 with Beach Party. But it wasn't just the theme that got attention, but who starred in it. This movie starred Frankie Avalone, a big pop singer of the time, and Annette Funicello, one of the first Disney Channel girls. Disney Channel didn't exist, but she was known for being one of the first Mouseketeers for the original Mickey Mouse Club. She was still under contract with Disney, and while this isn't a Disney production, the company still influenced what was considered acceptable. She can wear a bikini as long as her navel is covered. The plot is essentially a young messy couple being a young messy couple. They try to make each other jealous by flirting with other people, and there's some stuff with a motorcycle gang. It was by no means the most sophisticated of cinema, but it didn't matter. A movie like this wasn't about storytelling, but a lifestyle that teenagers could dream about. One promotion promised that guys showing up at the theater in black leather jackets and greased down hair will receive 50% off on Cokes and hamburgers. Beach Party became a hit in the drive-in movie market. Cinema Editor explained the appeal, and Frankie and Annette, teenagers now had their own version of Rock Hudson and Doris Day as the bedroom farce, and moved towards the beach and made a little younger, a little dumber, and stuffed full of wild music. Funicello and Avalone would team up again for a string of nearly identical follow-ups: Muscle Beach Party, Bikini Beach, and Beach Blanket Bingo. A 60s beach movie had to have green screen surfing, surf rock musical numbers, candy colors, mermaids occasionally, and an exaggerated atmosphere of wholesomeness. In real life, there was a quiet but growing counterculture: free love, psychedelics, unconventional lifestyles. But in these films, smecks might be hinted if you read between the lines. One had the tagline, "When 10,000 biceps go around 5,000 bikinis, you know what's going to happen." I don't know what's going to happen, but any sort of alcohol or green candy did not exist in the beach movie universe. Fun enough to get the attention of the youth, but not too rebellious to cause scandal. This genre became so popular, it introduced its aesthetic opposite, the ski resort movie. The plotlines were the same, but with cabins and sweaters. The new image of the beach heavily influenced what would become known as the California look. The style was youthful, upbeat, with a twinge of mod. Flat sandals, capri pants, and stylish leisure wear designed to look effortlessly chic, even though achieving effortless usually required a lot of effort, and the color had to match the mood: fuchsia, turquoise, lime green, and above all, lemon yellow, like the sun. And of course, swimwear as fashion wasn't new, but in the 60s, beachwear transformed into an entire aesthetic on its own. People knew about bikinis in the 50s, but it was still considered a bit too scandalous, more associated with European designers. But after the iconic beach scene in the 1962 film Dr. No, the bikini suddenly became modern and trendy. Swimsuits also became more playful and designed for movement. No more checks if your swimsuit was appropriate enough. This was the place to look and feel cute. And despite the fact that everyone was standing in wind, salt water, and humidity, women still styled their hair within an inch of its life. Hairspray was put on even more than usual. Put on some falsies and then put sunglasses over it. Why? Because fashion. And then there was the topic of tanning. It wasn't enough to touch grass. Getting tan was physical proof of it. This was when there was an entire industry centered on tanning. It was popular to use certain oils to attract the sun even more. Wow, that sounds like a great idea. But any sort of health concerns wasn't a concern. I'd guess a part of the media's obsession with the Californian dream was influenced by the American obsession with Europe. This decade brought growing political tension, rising anxieties about crime in cities, and the stress of the Vietnam War. Things just felt more exhausting in America. Meanwhile, London and Paris became the fantasy destination for the youth, cultural hubs of cutting-edge music, art, fashion. The Californian beach party vibe was incredibly aspirational while also feeling very American. Nick Cohen wrote in, I can't pronounce that, "California is teen heaven, where age is suspended at 25, and school is outlawed, and Coke flows free from public fountains, and the perfect cosmic wave unfurls endlessly at Malibu. Plus, the beach fantasy was an escape from contemporary chaos. You get to lay out in the sun, drink soda, hang out with friends. Beaches hosted beauty pageants, surf competitions, beach parties, concerts, barbecues, bonfires. There was just so much stuff to do. And on the very rare occasions when celebrities might show up at the beach, people basically went flying down the shore. It was cool to touch grass. Convertibles pulled up. Live music would play on piers. You got to see what cool new umbrella or towel your friend/frenemy got. Looking cool and detached while asking your friends, my crush did notice me, right? Going to the beach wasn't 100% about the outdoor activities. Remember that because it was a cool place to be, a lot of people showed up. You could potentially find romance. So looking your best doesn't hurt. And yes, a lot of the guys aim to look their best too. This type of social beach imagery was everywhere. You'd see it all over magazines, advertisements, TV shows, movies. No matter where you lived in the country, the look of the summer was Malibu. But as wildly popular as this aesthetic was, it eventually burned itself out. For one, the API Production Movies, the company most associated with beach movies, began shifting its focus towards stock car racing films. Beach party movies just weren't the guaranteed moneymaker anymore. The cleaned-up chasteness started losing its cool factor. There's always been something artificial about the beach party fantasy. The bright colors, the choreographed dancing. In 1963, it felt different, like an escapist dream. By 1968, with its overexposure and overt commercialization, the style became eye-roll-inducing. The surf rock genre was also going out of style. The Beach Boys, who was the face of it, was leaning towards the increasingly popular psychedelia pop. There was still summery music, but instead of loud, in-your-face reverb rock, it became hazier and more dreamlike. It's called California Dreamin'. As for the associated fashion, the swinging London meets California style of coordinated matching sets and sculpted hairstyles was looking too manufactured. American youth culture was shifting towards earthier, more natural aesthetics, influenced by the counterculture movement. The polished, smiley beach look suddenly felt corporate compared to the growing popularity of bohemian fashion, psychedelia, and anti-establishment attitudes. But California was still the haven of summery leisure. If anything, more stereotypes about Californian mystique emerged. In the 70s, people started jogging on the beach and roller skated on boardwalks. 80s and 90s beach culture was all about the body. Fitness culture dominated, and coastal California was a fantasy capital of attractiveness. People outside of LA imagined everything was like Baywatch. Realistically, Malibu was for the surfers and sunbathers. Venice Beach was for skaters and artists. The 2000s brought in another huge wave of beach media, almost creating a new branch of beach fantasy in the way the 60s did. 2000s The Beach, you could say, started off a new beach obsession, even though it had an anti-tourist message. Some beach media was cool and sporty, like Blue Crush, while in the OC and Laguna Beach, the beach was a place of luxury, leisure, and so much drama. But it's not too bad, because it's near a pool. There was also a rise in mermaid media, like in H2O, Just Add Water, and Aquamarine. The beach became something magical. A world of friendship, crushes, glittery ocean aesthetics. Brands like Roxy, Hollister, and PacSun cultivated images of ideal summer fashion. Bermuda shorts, shell necklaces, layered tank tops, flip-flops, colorful graphics, and a revived 1960s-inspired color palette. In a way, beach culture never became girlier. My Scene Jammin' in Jamaica went platinum in my house. What was the beach vibe in the 2010s? I'd guess Ibiza nightlife or day clubbing where Stereo Love and Glad You Came played. And on a more approachable note, filtered Pinterest photos and poolside Netflix movies. And today, I guess beach culture is the summer I turned pretty. In a fictional East Coast town, you can find your true love and your first heartbreak. It's a fantasy that one summer can somehow change your life forever. The 1960s beach style never truly went away. It was one of the most famous images of the decade, and over time, people started appreciating it again. What was once dismissed as overtly manufactured is now remembered as colorful, carefree fun. Teen Beach Movie was made as a loving parody of the genre. Reality is stale. Have a choreographed beach party instead. And maybe that's why this aesthetic still resonates. Underneath all the surfboards and hairspray, there was something genuinely appealing about it. All that nonchalant stuff wasn't happening here. The fantasy was living in the moment, hanging out with your friends, touching grass. Summer is coming up, or it's already here, and I want you to have the best summer possible. So here's what you should do. Go to the beach. Just go out. Nobody looks back fondly on a summer spent entirely indoors. If you can't go to a beach, find the nearest equivalent. Or at the very least, take time to sit outside for a while. Go for walks. Yes, I know it's hot, but sitting outside for a little while can make the day feel different. And it doesn't hurt to imagine that you're in front of a green screen wave. And that's all I have for the 60s beach aesthetic. Thank you all for watching, and hope to see you all in the next one.